what we've been doing, if you haven't been with us, we've been investing 3 Sundays talking about this thing called work, job, and career. And one of the reasons we've done that is because of a question that you and I got when we were growing up. And that question was, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And that question introduced a future reality for us that when we grow up, there's going to be this thing called work, job, and a career that's going to impact our lives, and that's proven to be the case. Maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a stay-at-home parent, maybe you're a student, maybe you're in marketing or construction, whatever it is, that when you get older, there's gonna be this thing called work, and it's gonna have an impact on your life, and that's true. In fact, as we've said in this series, most people are gonna spend 1/3 of their lives on the job, at work, in a career. That's a lot of time to spend in our lives. And so we've been asking the question, how satisfied are most people on the job and in their career? What we've discovered, at least according to Gallup, is that as they've researched this and asked, hey, how satisfied are you on the job? They've discovered that almost 80% of us are dissatisfied at work. So what that means is if you put all of this together, what it means is that most people are gonna spend 1/3 of their lives doing something they're dissatisfied with. And so we've been asking the question, are we okay with that? Are we okay with that? And if we're not okay with that, what can we do about that? And so for many people think of work as a penalty box between weekends. And so what happens is that there's a gap between their day job and their dream job, okay? And there's this gap. And in the middle of that gap, there can be stress, anxiety, disappointment, discouragement, worry, all of this negative emotion that happens. And if we're not careful, we think it's just isolated to work. We think work impacts our financial life and nothing else. But that could not be further from the truth because work is personal. Work impacts us personally, it impacts us emotionally, it impacts us relationally, it impacts us physically. If there is undealt with stress, worry, and anxiety, just give it enough time, it will literally damage your body. So work just isn't some compartmentalized, hey, I'm gonna leave it at the office. No, work, you carry work with you. And if there's a gap between your day job and your dream job, in the middle of all of this, you carry that with you to potentially impact your marriage, or your relationship with your kids, or quite literally, your health. You carry it with you. In fact, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. As I've been saying in this series, and as some of you know, before I did this, I spent a number of years in marketing and advertising. One of the jobs I had was the director of marketing at Lake Lanier Islands, not too far from here. And Lake Lanier Islands, I loved working there, but it had a tricky revenue model in the sense that if you had a hot, dry summer, that was great. If you had a rainy summer, that meant the marketing was really bad, okay? And so there was this really tricky revenue model. And so after one particularly rainy summer, I'm sitting in my office at Lake Lanier Islands and I'm thinking, surely we can come up with some idea that can impact revenue off of the summer months. So I'm a big Christmas guy. I love Christmas. And so I thought, what if during Christmas time we put lights on these boats? And we had like a boat parade and charged people to come see this Christmas light boat parade. And I thought, that's a terrible idea. I would never go to do that, right? So then I thought, but what if we put light displays at Lake Lanier Islands and we charged people per car to come and see the light displays and then they could go see Santa Claus and kind of roast some marshmallows? What if we did that? So I pitched that idea to the Lake Lanier Islands leadership team and they said, hey, we think that's a good idea. So we launched it. We called Magical Nights of Lights. In fact, anybody ever been to Magical Nights of Lights? Yeah, look at that. Yeah, it worked. I'm so glad. So the problem with Magical Nights of Lights though is that you wouldn't come until the kids got out of school for the last 2 weeks leading up to Christmas. So the second year at Magical Nights of Lights, I had this idea. I said, let's have a huge first night. It was the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Let's try to get some momentum. And what if we did this? So I approached a radio station at the time called Power 99. Anybody remember Power 99? Yeah, way back in the day. And I said, hey, what if for the opening night of Magical Nights of Lights, every car could get in for 99 cents? And then what if we kind of lit a Christmas tree and had Santa Claus come in, and then what if after we lit the tree, we had these red and green fireworks and we celebrated kind of the beginning of Christmas. So I pitched that idea to the Lake Lanier Islands leadership team and they said, hey, we think that's a good idea. So we started planning toward that. Now I had to go look around Lake Lanier Islands to see if there was a Christmas tree that we could light. And as I'm driving around, there's this gigantic water tower. And if you've been there, you've seen it before. And I thought, what if we could do this? What if we could put Christmas trees and hang Christmas trees on this water tower and light it up? Because you could see it from miles around. It'd be like the bat signal, okay? So you could see it all around. And so they thought, well, that's a good idea, let's do that. Which begs this statement. If your Christmas tree is a water tower, you might be a redneck, okay? So, but we went with it anyway, okay? So fast forward to tonight, I put a lot of effort in this. We open the gates at 5 o'clock and there's radio traffic, all right? I'm kind of wired up because we're all trying to communicate with one another. And at 4:30, this radio traffic I hear on the radio from the front gate. And they say, it's already slammed. And we're hearing reports that there's a mile-long stretch going from here to Holiday Road, if you've been up there before. And as a marketing guy, I'm thinking, yes. Our operations team they're thinking, no, okay. But I love it. So fast forward to 7 o'clock. It's literally gridlock, all right? And it's like rush hour traffic. There's hundreds and hundreds of cars there. Santa Claus comes in on a horse-drawn carriage. There's schools, choirs, church choirs singing. They sing, "Oh Christmas Tree." Santa lights the Christmas tree / water tower. The fireworks go up, red and green fireworks. Everybody claps, and it's amazing. I'm standing there by myself. I'll never forget this. And so the executive director of Lake Lanier Islands, the boss, walks up to me. He puts his hand on my shoulder, and then he shakes my hand, and he says, "Jeff, congratulations. This was a great idea." And in that moment, work became more than a paycheck. Work became personal to me. Because you know that thing that plagues me, probably plagues you too, called insecurity? It slinked away for a couple of days. Now it would come back, but for a moment I thought, maybe I can do this. Maybe I have what it takes to do this job. Work was personal, and it was such a wonderful moment that lasted 5 minutes. Because I started to hear other traffic reports, radio traffic in my headset. And we had never launched fireworks from this particular location. We'd always done it 4th of July. We had done it on another place of Lake Lanier Islands. But we didn't know that there would be this many. We didn't know that we would literally shut down Lake Lanier Islands. And so the large fireworks shells that we launched in the air, they simply obeyed this thing called the law of gravity. And they started coming down on Lake Lanier Islands. But not just on Lake Lanier Islands, they started landing on cars. Yeah. Oh, you think that's bad? Buckle up, people. It's about to get a lot worse than that. And so, seriously, I spent the next 2 weeks filling out insurance reports, people filing in with their cars. And so I next hear that one of the fireworks shells had landed on another far side of Lake Lanier Islands, and it had caused a fire. Now, the good news is that we had our own fire engine at Lake Lanier Islands. That's the good news. The bad news is it's at the front of Lake Lanier Islands and can't get to the back because of all the traffic. And I start to see this headline in my mind next day: marketing guy burns down beloved Lake Lanier Islands. Fortunately, a couple of our operations guys got in some speedboats and they were able to go around and put all the fire out. But in that moment, here's what happened. In the span of 5 minutes, here's what happened. It went from, wow, whose idea was this, to whose idea was this? It went from awesome to awful. I went from hero to zero in about 5 minutes. And here's my question, and here's why I bring that story up. Do you think when I drove away from Lake Lanier Islands that night, do you think I carried that with me? Do you think I carried that with me that night, that week, into my life? Do you think that preoccupied me? You see, work is more than financial and occupational. Work is personal. Work is emotional. Work can, in fact, impact you relationally, and it can impact you physically. Now, you can't avoid bad days at the office, but what if it's bad days equaling a month, or months, or quarters, or a year, or years? For so many people, where they find themselves is they find themselves stuck between their day job and their dream job. And it's not just a work issue. It could potentially be a marital issue, a relationship issue, a physical issue. And what happens is, the question is, how do you get unstuck when you're stuck between your day job and your dream job? And the reason we get stuck, and I totally understand this, is you might say, or someone might say, Jeff, hey, yes, I'm experiencing all this negativity on my day job, but here's the great thing about my day job. My day job pays the bills. And since my day job pays the bills, I kind of feel like I'm stuck. But what you forfeit is all the emotional, relational, and physical potential stress that comes with paying the bills. And so here's how being stuck in your day job, here's the question, here's what this feels like. And here's a part of the question that we're gonna wrestle with today. And this is where so many people struggle, and I totally understand this. How do you keep the hope of a dream job alive when your day job keeps you preoccupied? How do you do that? How do you keep the hope of a dream job alive when your day job keeps you so busy and it pays the bills? And for a lot of people, we just haven't figured out how to bridge our day job into our dream job, and we get stuck. And I totally understand that. And so what we're gonna talk about today is how to do that. What we're gonna talk about today is how, if you feel stuck or you know someone who is stuck, we're gonna talk about how to get unstuck today so that you can build a bridge from your day job to your dream job. But not only that, if you're here today and you're in a career transition, the company got downsized, the division got downsized, you were let go, or you're thinking about making a career transition, let me tell you what I think you might feel like, all right? Let me show you what I think you might feel like by showing you this picture. This is a picture of a career crossroads, if you will, all right? And so if you're in a career transition, you're thinking, okay, should I pursue this career? Should I call this career? Should I call this person and pursue this career? Should I do this or should I do that? Or if you're thinking about a career transition, here's what you're thinking. You're thinking, should I just quit? Should I just go in tomorrow and quit? Or should I look for another job in my industry? Or should I just consider another industry? Or should I just keep my head down and just endure because at least it pays the bills? And so you feel like you're at a career crossroads. And this is where many of you are. Now, let me tell you about this picture. This is near the end of the movie Castaway. Any of you ever seen the movie Castaway? Yeah. Any of you, are you planning to see the movie Castaway? Good, because I'm about to ruin it for you. I'm going to share with you the end. All right, the movie Castaway, Tom Hanks is in the movie. He plays a guy named Chuck Nolan who works for FedEx. And he's flying over the Pacific Ocean in a FedEx plane. They encounter a storm. The plane goes down, and Chuck Nolan is the only one who survives. He drifts along to this deserted island. He wakes up the next morning, and he's got to survive. He's there by himself. He's a castaway. And so all these FedEx boxes start washing up along the shore, and he begins to open up these FedEx boxes, and the contents of these FedEx boxes allow him to survive. But there's one particular FedEx box that he sees, and it has the image of an angel wing on it, all right? And throughout this movie, there's spiritual imagery and spiritual implications and spiritual hints, and this is one of them. And he's about to open up the box that has the angel wings on it, and he stops, and he just sets it aside. And when he gets at kind of a crossroads on the island, for whatever reason, this box kind of gives him a hint, kind of a clue as to what to do next. And so he eventually gets off the island. I hate to ruin the movie for you, but we're not going to let Tom Hanks die on an island, right? So he gets off the island, but he gets to the end of the movie, and he's still at another crossroads. Now, that's just a movie, but wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be a gift if you were given a clue, a hint as to how do you figure out which pathway you're supposed to go down? Wouldn't it be cool if you could be given a clue that would allow you to know what it is that you're supposed to do next to build a bridge from your day job to your dream job? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And to do that, I'm going to read to you a business story. And in this business story, there's going to pop open a principle for you. And we're going to dive into this principle. And if we'll lean into this principle and activate this principle, not sometime in the future, if we will activate this principle tomorrow morning, and then the next morning, it's going to lead you somewhere. Students, are you listening to me? If you can figure out how to apply this principle at your age, the return on your investment will be absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to look at this business story. We're going to find this principle. We're going to talk about how to activate this principle. And the powerful thing about this principle is it's going to allow us, if we'll follow it, to build a bridge from our day job to our dream job. So here's the business story. The business story, interestingly enough, was told to us by Jesus. Jesus tells a business story. And there's a guy named Luke who recorded Jesus' life. He wrote 2 books, one of them creatively titled Luke. And in this book, Luke chapter 16, he shares this business story that Jesus told. And so I want to read this business story. And then I'm going to pause, and we're going to pull out this principle, and then we're going to dive into this principle. And I've got a little homework assignment, and then we'll let you go. So here's the story, the business story. I'm just going to read this to you. This is what Jesus said. This is his business story. Jesus told his disciples there was a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. So he called him in and asked him, "What is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management because you cannot be manager here any longer." So here's a business story. You got an owner and a management. You got work conflict, okay? So the story goes on. This is what the manager says. The manager said to himself, "What shall I do now? My master is taking away my job." I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. Okay, so he's not strong enough to dig, and he's ashamed to beg. He's not like the group, the Temptations. They ain't too proud to beg. This guy, he's too ashamed to beg. So he says, I know what I'll do so that when I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their houses. So here's what he does next. And Jesus begins to lift this up and say, oh, this is really wise. Watch what he does next. So he called in each one of his master's debtors. He asked the first, how much do you owe my master? 900 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 450. Here's one example. Jesus gives us another example. He's making this story up, but he's kind of baiting us along. Here's his next example. Then he asked the second, and how much do you owe? 1,000 bushels of wheat, he replied. He told him, take your bill and make it 800. And so at this point, Jesus kind of pauses in the story. And now he starts commenting on why this story is so important and why you need to listen to this story. And so here's the first part of the commentary that Jesus gives us on this story. This is what he says. He said, the master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. Very important word here. Jesus is saying, this guy did something that's really shrewd, that's really wise, that you need to copy because it's really shrewd and it's really wise. And Jesus begins to unpack this story. And as he does, in Luke 16, verse 10, he gives us kind of the bottom line of the story. And this is the bottom line. And this is the verse that we're going to lean into and pull out of this verse a principle. And why is this important? Because this principle allows you to build a bridge from your day job to your dream job. Here's what Jesus said. This is kind of his bottom line. He said, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Whoever can be trusted with a few things or small things can be trusted with much larger things. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. This is gigantic. And I want to show you why this is important as it relates to your work and your career. But to understand this, we have to understand what Jesus is commending in this dishonest manager, all right? Here's what Jesus is commending. Jesus commends the dishonest manager for knowing, and this is really important, how to leverage a present opportunity in order to provide for a future opportunity. This is so important. This is how you build a bridge from your day job to your dream job. Jesus commends the dishonest manager for knowing how to leverage a present opportunity in order to provide for a future opportunity. Now, here's why this is so important in terms of trying to understand the bridge from your day job to your dream job. This is an observation that I've made over the last few years. Now, this isn't perfect. There are exceptions to this that I'm about to show you. But what I'm about to show you, more often than not, is the way you build a bridge, all right? And I want to give it to you this way. This is kind of the path. The path to your dream job often runs right through your day job. The path to your dream job often runs right through your day job. Let me give you an example. The iconic image of the American entrepreneur is the garage. It's a group of people who have a day job, but at night they're working on their dream job. It's this image of people who, hey, I'm paying the bills over here, but I'm building a bridge the whole time to my dream job. Walt Disney Studios started in a garage. Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak started Apple Computers in a garage. Google started in a garage. Hewlett Packard started in a garage. Harley Davidson obviously started in a garage. The point is in those small days when nobody was writing autobiographies or writing biographies of Walt Disney or Steve Jobs, when nobody knew who they were in that garage. And Walt Disney was a cartoonist at a newspaper, and he launched Walt Disney Studios when no one was paying attention. What that means is often the path to your dream job runs right through your day job. And Jesus is saying, when you leverage a present opportunity to create a future opportunity, that's a wise thing to do. In fact, let me give you an example here. There's a friend of mine that helped us launch Gwinnett Church. He's a volunteer, an incredible volunteer. He launches his business on July 1st of this year, all right? Now, I've known this guy for 4 years. The first time I met him, he was talking about this idea. And he's been building and building. He has a day job, by the way, and his day job isn't his dream job. His dream job is what he's about to launch on July 1st. But you know what he's been doing for 4 years that I've known him? On weeknights and weekends, he's been working toward his dream job. And he's been faithful in those small things. He's just not going to quit and launch on July 1st. First, he's been building this over and over and over again. You know what he's been doing? He's being faithful where he is. He's been faithful where he is, and then he takes a small step to take a step toward his dream job. That's a way. That's one of the most frequent ways, by the way, that people build a bridge from their day job to their dream job. And so the principle that I want to leave you and lean in today is this, based on Luke 16, verse 10 in this story. And here's how we're going to say it. To be faithful in the small things, in those things that are right around you, in your present opportunity, to be faithful in the small things. And the reason you need to be faithful in the small things is because your heavenly Father's paying attention. Your heavenly Father's cheering you on. Be faithful in the small things. God is paying attention. And let me say this, just pause and say this right now. If you're in a career transition right now, company got downsized, you got downsized, it's easy to think that God's forgotten all about you. This is why you came today. I just want to tell you, God's not forgotten about you. God is preparing you. God's not forsaken you. God's preparing you. Your job, your opportunity is to show God tomorrow, I'm going to be faithful in the small things. So God, I know that you're paying attention. So if you're in a career transition, let me share with you what happens. Many times you go on a vacation, you get laid off, you go on a vacation, then you come back and you start looking for a job. And if it's a little difficult, what happens is for most people, they start isolating themselves and they don't know what to do next. You can't do that. You can't do that. And what you need to do, you need to start getting on the phone tomorrow and you need to call 10 people and say, can I come have coffee with you? Can I come meet with you? Because I want to talk to you about what I do next. Be faithful in the small things. That's a way to be faithful where you are, to leverage a present opportunity, to build a bridge between your day job and your dream job. And here's why this is important. It's bigger than your career. It's going to flow to your relationships, your emotions, and your health. Now, I want us to be really clear about this. How do you do this? Well, let me give you an example. And here's a question that I want to ask to kind of lead you toward this. The question is this: what can you control? What can you control in terms of building the bridge from your day job to your dream job? And here's the reality. The list of answers to this question is smaller than we think. It really is. You can't control the economy. You can't control the trends in your industry. You might not even be able to control in your current job what's going on in your department or division. But there are some things that you can control. And if we're not careful, we'll see these things as insignificant and small things. And Jesus says, oh, no. Be faithful in the small things. Because if you can be faithful in the small things, you can be trusted with more. Let me share with you just a couple of things that I think are small things that you can be faithful in beginning tomorrow morning. And this is how you show God that you're actually being very, very serious about being faithful in the small things because you know he is paying attention. First thing is this: personal improvement. What is your plan to get better as an employee or a boss or a manager or a teacher? What is your plan to get better? Because you need to have a plan about what is your personal improvement plan. If I were to ask you this question, and don't be concerned, I won't, but if I were to ask you this question, hey, what's your personal development plan look like for this year? You should be able to tell me this. And let me give you a reason why. Many years ago, I was traveling with Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, and we were talking about this. And he said, Jeff, there's two ways that you can improve. There's two ways that you can improve: the quality of the books you read and the quality of the people you interact with. The quality of the books you read and the quality of the people you interact with are a direct connection to you getting better. I've never forgotten that. And as a result of that, I've had a reading plan every year, a goal to read a certain number of books every year. And people come up to me and they say, man, you really like to read. I really don't like to read. I have a passion for getting better. And here's why, one of the reasons I have a passion for getting better. You, Gwinnett Church, you deserve me to be a better leader and a better pastor. You deserve more than the current Jeff Henderson. And so I'm passionate about getting better as a pastor and leader because you deserve better. And many people stop reading when they get out of school. And the reason they stop reading when they get out of school is because they say, hey, I don't have to take tests anymore. I would suggest to you, you take a test every day for the rest of your life. And books help you get better. What's your personal development plan? I've also done this in terms of the quality of people that I interact with. One of the things I do is when I finish a book, maybe it's a biography of someone, I write them a letter and ask if I can meet them. A few years ago, I read the biography of Warren Buffett. He's either number 1 or number 2 in terms of the richest men in the world. He battles back and forth between Bill Gates. Must be a fun battle. And so I like this book that Warren Buffett kind of co-wrote. And so I wrote Warren Buffett a letter. Hey, my name's Jeff. I'm the pastor of this church, and I'd like to come meet with you. I have 5 questions. It will take 30 minutes. If I can't get 30, I'll take 10. I'm not here to ask you for money. It's not a fundraising ploy. I would love to meet you and just ask you questions about the book. And guess what? I got a letter back from Warren Buffett. And he said, "Dear Jeff, no." But I got a letter from Warren Buffett. I mean, come on. That's a win right there, okay? Now, 3 years ago, I read another book about Ambassador Andrew Young, 2-time mayor of Atlanta, civil rights legend. I wrote him a letter. Could I meet with you? And he said yes. I went and met with him. He, a couple of years ago, spoke at our church. And I developed a friendship with Andrew Young. And oh my goodness, the first time he actually said my name, I'd met with Ambassador Young like 7 times and he never said my name. And the 8th time he said, "So Jeff, what I was thinking about," I thought, he just said my name. He just said my name, okay? But the point is, what is your personal development plan? It doesn't have to be books or people, although I think that's a pretty good idea. If you aren't leveraging this, it's gonna be tough to build a bridge from your day job to your dream job. Here's another one, attitude. If you're in the middle of just a negative, tough situation, you work for a difficult manager, I'm not saying that this is easy. It's very difficult. It will batter and damage your attitude. But if you allow that to batter and damage your attitude, it's hard to build a bridge from your day job to your dream job with a negative attitude. And what you need to do is go back to week 1 and understand who you really work for and allow that to impact your attitude. And the final one that we're just gonna look at, there's more, but you can control your work ethic. You can control this. What's the quality of your work like lately? And if you're in, again, a negative situation, it can damage the quality of your work because you can say this, you can say, nobody's paying attention. Nobody's paying attention. I could go the extra mile, but nobody's paying attention. Oh, be careful. Actually, someone is paying attention. And he happens to be the most important one. Be faithful in the small things. Be faithful in the small things. Be faithful in the small things like this because God is paying attention. And here's our bottom line again. This is where we want to lead you to. But the question is this, okay, Jeff, I hear that, be faithful in the small things. How do I do that? You said do something tomorrow morning. How do I do that? Here's how you do this, okay? Be faithful in the small things. God's paying attention, and what you do is you do the next right thing. What's the next right thing? What's the next right thing for you? As I mentioned earlier, if you've been downsized and you're looking for a job, your next right thing is to get back out there tomorrow. Call 10 people. Hey, can I take you to coffee? Call people and say, hey, I need to meet with you. I'm in a career transition. What is the next right thing? If you don't know what the next right thing is, then you need to talk to your small group this week and say, hey, what do you think the next right thing is? And talk to your small group. If you're not in a small group, you need to get in a small group so that you can get with your small group and go, hey, what do you think? Can you pray for me? Because I need to figure out what the next right thing is. And here's what's so powerful about this. If you'll figure this out for tomorrow morning or tomorrow and just take a step on Monday and then get up on Tuesday and figure out what the next right thing is on Tuesday. Maybe it's a personal development plan. Maybe it's something with your attitude. Maybe it's something with your quality of work. And on Tuesday, just take a step toward the right direction. What you're doing is you're sending your Heavenly Father a signal that I'm serious about building a bridge from my day job to my dream job. And I don't know how this is gonna work, but I believe you are a faithful God. And because you're a faithful God, I'm gonna show you today, I'm gonna take a step, I'm gonna do the next right thing. And I believe at this crossroads, that step's gonna lead me down a path toward a faithful God. Now, here's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this. It's because of a story my dad told me. As some of you know, my dad was a pastor, and one of the churches he pastored was a church in Habersham County. And he told me this story so many times. And the reason he told me this story wasn't because he felt like I forgot it. He told me this story over and over again because he wanted to kind of emphasize this point over and over to me. And I've never forgotten it. The story was one day he got a call from a large church in Athens and said, hey, we are going to come and visit your church if it's okay because we are looking for a new pastor and we'd like to come to your church and hear you preach. Now, for those of you that grew up in church, this was called a pulpit steering committee, all right? So the pulpit steering committee from this large church in Athens came to hear my dad preach. And so my dad was really excited. He was a University of Georgia graduate. He loved Athens, and so he's pretty excited about this. So this pulpit steering committee came to the church that day up in Habersham County. They heard him preach, and my dad said, hey, I felt like the sermon went pretty well. And they took a tour of the church, and they were very impressed, and they were all excited and very encouraging. And they said, well, Dr. Henderson, we'll get back with you in a couple of weeks, but thanks so much. We're so excited, and we'll talk to you about next steps. So my dad's so excited, to be able to have an opportunity to impact more people in Athens, and he knew of this church. It's absolutely phenomenal. He told my mom, Margaret, we're moving to Athens. It's great. So the next week goes by, and they don't call, and week 2 goes by, and they don't call, and week 3, week 4, they don't call, and week 5 and week 6. And around week 7 and 8, my dad begins to realize they're not calling. I'm not going to the large church in Athens. The last time my dad told me this story, he was 82. And he said this, he said, son, who knows? They still may call, it's only been 43 years. Now, here's one of the many reasons why this story is so important to me and why I think it should be important to you. This is my dad's preaching Bible. My dad preached his sermons out of this Bible. When I was ordained into the ministry, my dad gave me this Bible as a gift, and this is his preaching Bible. Now, you should see this Bible. First of all, this is a serious Bible, all right? This is a serious Bible. And so my dad would write his sermons in this Bible, and it's just amazing. So his sermons are in here. Now, I don't know where it is. I don't know what page it's on. But somewhere in this Bible was the first sermon my dad wrote after realizing he's not going to Athens. Somewhere in this Bible is the first sermon my dad wrote when he realized, I'm not getting that job. And here's why I bring this up. Do you think my dad was disappointed when he was writing this first sermon? Absolutely. Do you think my dad was discouraged when he went to this Bible and started writing this sermon? Do you think my dad said, Father, why didn't I get this opportunity? Do you think my dad was discouraged? Absolutely he was discouraged. Was he disappointed? Absolutely he was disappointed. So what do you do? And some of you are there today. What do you do when you don't get the job? What do you do when you're discouraged and disappointed? What do? You do the next right thing. And for my dad, the next right thing for him was to be faithful in the next sermon that he was called to preach. And he opened up this Bible and he started writing that sermon. That was the next right thing. And then he did it the next week, and the week after next, and the week after next. Now my dad would say this. He'd say, son, in my 80s, I have a perspective that you don't have. Because in my 80s, I can look back and now I can see the trace of the hand of God. And I can see what God was doing, and I can see why I didn't get that job in Athens. Because my dad got a job in Norcross, and it was his dream job. But the reason my dad loved that job in Norcross is because of this. He said, son, if we had moved to Athens, we wouldn't have moved to Norcross, which means your brother John would have never met Amy, his wife, because they met in Norcross. And if we had moved to Athens and not Norcross, you would have never met Wendy because Wendy and I met in Norcross. And the reason that was important to my dad is he loved Amy and Wendy more than John and me. I'm pretty sure about that. And I'm also confident John and I will be in counseling about that in the years ahead, all right? But he goes, I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. I'm so thankful I didn't get that job in Athens. And I'm so thankful that I knew I could trust God. And somewhere in this Bible, he started writing that sermon. And here's why I'm telling you this story. Some of you are right smack dab in the sermon writing moment, aren't you? And here's my prayer for you, and here's what I hope for you. My hope for you is that someday you're gonna be able to tell your kids and your grandkids what God did in this moment. And the reason I know that's possible is because we're dealing with a Father, a Heavenly Father who is faithful and true and can be trusted. And all he's asking us to do is try to figure out how to be faithful tomorrow. All he's asking us to do is to figure that out, know that he's watching, and do the next right thing. And this is how you build a bridge from your day job to your dream job. Be faithful in the small things. God's paying attention. Do the next right thing. And that leads us to our conclusion. How do you build the bridge to your dream job, to your day job? Here's how this works. How do you find purpose at work? Well, we said in week 1, the purpose of your life at work is to show that God is at work in your life, which means there is no such thing as a job without purpose. When you understand purpose at work, you begin to understand a powerful component of a dream job. Then last week we said, hey, how do you discover what God has created you to do? How do you discover God's will for your life? Well, here's how you do it. A way to do this. God's thumbprints on you are clues about his plans for you. The greater you understand God's thumbprints on you, the greater clarity you're gonna have about his path for you. And how do you keep the hope of a dream job alive when your day job keeps you preoccupied? Here's what you do. Be faithful in the small things. God is paying attention. And when you do this, you invite your Heavenly Father to walk with you. And you want to talk about career connections? When you invite your Heavenly Father to walk with you, it's the greatest career connection you will ever have. But not only that, there's coming a day when you're going to tell this story. And here's what you're going to tell people. You're going to tell people about how you found your purpose, about how you found your clarity, about how you made this actionable, and then you're going to say this. And because of the faithfulness of my Heavenly Father, he gave me a clue, and he helped me build a bridge from my day job to my dream job.